Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well. Is sound on? Is the question. I completely forgot to check the mic. Should be working. If not, I've just not clicked it properly. So let's have a double check. Yep, sound is working. Cool. Sound is working. I did click the mic on. Panic second there. Domare, hello mate. Had a panic second. I completely forgot to check my mic. The most basic of mistakes. And yeah, so we're continuing to paint up some Eldar. Back at it. Had a few busy days at work, so get some midday painting on. What is everyone up to hobby-wise at the moment? I'm doing well, man. Work's finally calmed down again. I'm able to sort of get stuff going on the channel again, able to do painting again. It's been good. So aim is to get our 40k forces all painted up for the channel, and then we can start getting some 40k bat reps up on the channel. So we're just painting some Eldar craft worlds, and then I've got some Marines to finish and some Harlequins. That's pretty much all my 40k painted up at that point, which would be cool. Now, how is everyone else doing? I've also been distracted from painting because the brand new Pokemon games came out, so I have been a little bit distracted by that, which is all well and good. Yeah, once we get 40k, we'll be getting the Conquest stuff all painted up. I've got some Nords, 100 Kingdoms, and Spires at the moment to paint up. Cookies are pretty good, man. The wife makes pretty good cookies. I mean, they're good enough that we continue to sell them to the same people over and over again, so we're doing something right. Nice. Yeah, I've got a couple of Warcry warbands to get painting up. I've got my Iron Golems and my Signs of the Flame to finish painting up. Well, to actually start painting up. Iron Golems aren't even built. So they'll be getting added soon to the Warcry stuff that we've got for the channel. I've got Marvel there to paint as well, which will be a ton of fun. Nine Stan, hello. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Oh, nice. You're doing the Red Harvest box? Yeah, I've got to go pick up a Red Harvest box. I still haven't. I've just got... Trying not to buy that much hobby at the moment. I've got a ton of stuff that's backlogged and it just needs to get done. So we're really going to start cracking down on the backlog. Stop buying new stuff and get painting my old stuff. Is, I think, my plan at the moment. Revan, good morning. No, the 40k ones are coming, Revan. Don't worry your pretty face on those. They'll be coming. Oh, nice. Yeah, they really started giving build options in the later kits, like the Catacombs kits had options as well. There were like some decent options for particularly Scions of the Flame. And also what I liked in the Hangout Shadowstalkers was if you bought a second box, you could build the Shroud Queen as a regular Shroud Blade, which was really cool. Meaning, like, if you bought multiple warbands, you're not spending extra Shroud Queens. You had an extra model that was useful in your Warcry warband. Obviously, for Age of Sigmar, you want double Shroud Queen, but for Warcry, you don't. So it was nice to have the options there. Good afternoon, Gregory. Nice to see you there, mate. To be honest, I'm more interested in the Necron one. I've got a decent Space Marine one. The Space Marine one doesn't do it for me. If it had like a one of the bigger tanks in it, I would be much more interested in the Space Marine one. Space Marine one's cool though. Like I was considering, I think the 40k ones for me hit the mark a lot better on what I personally want for other things. And maybe that's because like I'm starting to explore 40k more, that I'm more interested in getting 40k because I've got, a ton of AOS. Out of the AOS ones, the one I was most interested in was the Bone Reapers one, because I've only got like a Feast of Bones of Bone Reapers plus, I've got 2 halves of Feast of Bones for Bone Reapers plus Arcan, and a Bone Shaper. So for me, like, the 40k ones definitely sort of hit the mark a little bit more for me. Yeah, I like the Destroyer Cult stuff. Necrons just got an amazing buff. Like the amount of stuff that got added with the core keyword just really was massive for Necrons. I don't think any army came out better from that update that they did for 40k than Necrons. I think Necrons got the best update to their army. It wasn't necessarily the best fix, because obviously like the Orc fix and the Flyer fix was all really good, but like the Necron update to give a whole bunch of units the core keyword was really good. So we're just starting on the white of the helmets now. And so what we're doing for them is we're just doing Auckland Grey as a base, and then we'll go over with Auckland Grey again, just getting a nice good coat. Agrax Earthshade in the recesses, and then White Scar for a layer. Yeah, if you're there in the chat, say hello. Let us know what you're working on hobby-wise. Want to hear from everyone on what they're all getting up to. Right, yeah. Hello, mate. Hades. I hate moving, so I completely understand the pain you will be going through right now. Absolutely hate moving. Kenton Young. Hello, mate. No, always working the cities, waiting for the Dawnbringer Crusade. I think we'll be waiting a while for those Dawnbringer Crusades, to be honest. Seeing as we got the Battle Tome update, I think it's going to be a while for cities to see an update. Oh, nice. You get your friend to start collecting Age of Sigmar? Almost 2 a.m. That's fair. Yeah, so which box is the most buy and which one's most avoid? I do think the Soul Blight one is by far the cheapest and the best box because you literally add a Necromancer and you've got a 1,000-point army. That's decent as well. The Bone Reapers one is pretty cool. You just add a box of Mortek Light, and the Bone Reapers one's really good as well. Add a box of Mortek Guard to it, and you've got a what is it? Sorry, add a thing. What am I trying to say? The Bone Reapers on, add a box of Mortek Guard to it, and you've got 1,500 points of Bone Reapers, which is pretty. I think the Slaanesh one is by far the worst box. The Bone Reapers one has 2 HQ in it, I think, to start with. Does it not? Can't remember. Give me a sec. I don't think that Lumineth one's that bad, to be honest. Lumineth one has a lack of models just because of their cost. That is the simple fact that you will always get less Lumineth because the models cost more. I don't think that's a point against the box. That's a point against Lumineth Realm Lords in general. That box isn't bad for Lumineth. Like, I think it's one of the better ones. It's definitely not the worst. The Slaanesh one is terrible. Although I wouldn't turn you off at Ronya, I'd just say it takes more to make that box work because you got to remember Slaanesh are a summoning army. A lot of people say add Lord of Pain to that and you get more battle line, but I think that's the wrong addition. You don't want to be a combat army with Slaanesh. Those units are mostly for holding your objectives. So you want to add maybe another unit of archers and another character to that box to get you Depravity Summoning, which is pretty much how Slaanesh sort of have to play at the moment. I think that box, add a box of archers and start collecting Daemons of Slaanesh box, and you've got a pretty solid Slaanesh force right there. Oh, cool. You've already got the box of archers, then yeah. What was it? What was the list I put up? I added Sigvold into it as well. So you could get Sigvold, I mean, because who doesn't want sexy, arseless chaps Sigvold? Like, that is an amazing model. So yeah, like I don't think any of the Age of Sigmar ones are bad per se. I definitely think there are two clear winners in the two Death ones are by far the two better boxes. That Lumineth one though, I think that could be hot property. Like it could be like seeing into the future. Yeah, that Lumineth one, because those ballistas could be good in the future. That is really what I'm going to try and be, is more responsible with money. Like, to keep buying stuff and then working on new stuff, and my backlog just never seems to decrease. So I think my big thing, like my big goal for next year, is to have my backlog like. I think for starting a Lumineth army, it's not terrible. Like when you put that all together at 1,000 points, it's not terrible. That battle force can add a lot to your army. Like I think for a beginner Lumineth Throne Lords player, funnily enough, that Banner Blade is useful when you're starting Lumineth. Because he sort of negates the effects of having to use your Aether Quartz. That's what I like him for. Bravery Bombs are. I think he could become really useful if the meta actually shifts and realizes that Bravery Bombs are a good, like, are a legitimate strategy now. Lumineth do not like getting hit with Bravery Bombs. And there's a lot of good Bravery Bombs you can hit them with that they can't stop. The Vanguard box looks really cool and interesting. Nigel, that'll be a pretty sweet army. Like they'll give you pretty much all the options by your Alarith, and then you just need to go get some Alarith stuff for your Lumineth. Like the only reason I'm not getting the Lumineth box is because when that new range, this like second launch with Lumineth, I literally bought one of everything that came out. I think the one thing I would have liked to see in that Lumineth Battle Force, I don't know, like, because obviously they're not showing the Alarith in it, so I don't think it gets the cow mount in it. And like, I know it's not a monster, but it would have been cool to maybe drop the Dawn Riders and put in the Spirit of the Wind. So you got the 5 Huracan, and then like, yeah, I don't get why they didn't go full Huracan with the box. I will say that I really thought they were going to go like full Huracan. Like, so you'd get a Wind Mage as your character, you'd get a box of the Wind Riders, you know, you'd maybe get the new Venari stuff, so, you know, you probably would get the Ballista and some Banner Blades. And yeah, the Lumineth one is definitely not useful if you already have a Lumineth army. I will say that. Like, so someone like me or you, Hades, we've got a decent amount of Lumineth. Like, not just saying, like, he's only got the launch box and a couple of boxes of Sentinels. He's just starting Lumineth. It's a good box to add for him. But for like me, it's the Lumineth characters aren't many characters. There aren't many characters in Lumineth you double up on. I would say that. All I want is I want my dude to be good in Age of Sigmar and not just in Warcry. The Caligrave. I want him to be good in actual Age of Sigmar because he's amazing in Warcry. But I'd love to see him be good in actual Age of Sigmar as well. He's my favorite Lumineth Realm Lords model. I love the Caligrave model. We'll say that Lord Regent is really good. For like you, Nigel, he'll be a fantastic addition to your force. The fact. Yeah, I really onto the like 40k ones because they're the ones I don't think I'm going to get any, just because, like I said, I want to. My aim next year is I would love to have no backlog by the end of next year. That is a tall ask, but it would be. No, Ronya, thank you very much for dropping by. Don't forget to drop a like on the video before you disappear. Everyone should be dropping a like on the video. It helps more people find us while we're live. Nigel, I'm painting some Eldar Dire Avengers for my Craftworld's Eldar army. There's some 40k. It's been a nice palette cleanser painting a couple of 40k armies from Age of Sigmar. Don't no, just YouTube. I'm not a fan of Twitch. It's not worth splitting the audience base anymore. With YouTube members and stuff like that, it sort of just defeats the purpose of Twitch. Of note, don't forget, if you are a YouTube member, you get the cool little emojis in the chats on this. For a couple of bucks a month, you can have all the cool emojis, and you get a cool little mark whenever you comment on anything. People know you're a YouTube member. And pretty soon we'll probably be... Chat is broken. Try just exiting out and going back in. It should hopefully fix it, don't it? Yeah, Domi, I can see you. Core mechanic. I would have said Iron Jaws. Oh, well, no. Which army relies on its elite units the most, so that's what so that's how the core mechanic would transfer over. But the army that takes minimum battle line and then takes the rest of stuff around min battle line. So what would suffer the most from that at the moment? Slanesh would certainly suffer from core being added because they don't have a lot of battle line options. Caradron would as well. They don't have battle line options. Idness certainly would as well. Once again, not many battle line, actual pure battle line options, because we're assuming if they added core, it would be added to the pure battle line options. So it's those armies that that have so much unlocks that would be hurt by core the most. Although I think if a core got transferred over, which I don't think is a terrible idea, the way you do it is you'd unlock core the same way you would unlock battle line now. And you wouldn't call it core, you'd just make... Yeah. I think you would need to... I don't mind the mechanic at all. But it would need to be tinkered with to work with how Age of Sigmar builds an army. I think the way is you potentially only give core to pure battle line units. Might have given me a whole video to talk about here. I think I could make a whole video talking about core and the impact it could have on the game and what it could do. It would be an interesting change to the game, and I don't think it would be bad. What it would mean is you need to make your elite units better, but not overly better. Yeah, I think we're coming to the point where I don't like the idea of other. I think other should be special and rare now, or two types. So we'll take a look at Conquest, for example. So Conquest, like Argument of Kings, is a brand new miniatures game that has infantry split into 3 profiles. So you have light, medium, and heavy. And so in Conquest, they will come on the board game at different times, but it's that differential between the 3 things that I think could be really useful for Age of Sigmar, whether that be something like we used to have in Fantasy, where core, special, and rare, light, medium, heavy, whatever you want to call it, core, elite, master, or something, whatever you want to call it. I think we could definitely see the game restricting those rare units more and restricting special units, like having restrictions on them. So maybe only able to take a single rare unit in a game. But yeah, I think we're at that point where there are some units in the game that like you don't want to be seeing whole armies, and like imagine what a rare unit could like slots could do, or special units. And if you like all of a sudden, like I like how we got restrictions on Behemoth and on artillery. That's all really cool. But yeah, I definitely think that like the disparity between battle line and other, and especially between some of the others, is really important. I think that could be really interesting. Yeah, and I don't mind like some units being 0-1. Like used to have the unlocks in Fantasy as well. Like I also wouldn't mind seeing something else that appeared in Fantasy as well is your big characters taking up multiple slots in heroes. So if you used to remember, like say, like Karl Franz used to take up a Lord and a hero slot in Fantasy, I wouldn't be upset if, like, say, like Marathi currently does, and that's great that she actually takes up 2 hero slots. But like something like Teclis actually takes up 2 of your hero slots, or I know they take up Hero Behemoth now currently, but it would be interesting to sort of play around with that potentially as something else as well. But yeah, there could be some cool changes to the game. And like Age of Sigmar and 40k always learn from each other. I mean, you just have to look at Path to Glory now, on how that took so much from Crusade. Yeah, I think the thing with AOS is like you can pretty much pick up any models you want, and you can pretty much run that army whatever way you want. You can make it work to be that army. Want to run an army of all dragons? I mean, the big one for Stormcast was also you couldn't like ever run Dracothian Guard as battle line, and all of a sudden that's a thing. So now you've got the Dracothian Guard army everyone has been screaming about for Stormcast for so long. But it's how much do you want to keep that sort of feel, and does the game suffer because of it? I think is a because yeah, I think match play needs to change. I think that like competitive play, like people like to say there's a whole bunch of stuff, but for me, like match play is, or like competitive play, I'll say, because match play like is very different. But competitive play for me is rather boring at the moment. All the top army lists are just the same thing reversed. They're either super hyper armies that break some core mechanic of the rule, don't let you play the game, or they're either just so wounds dense it's impossible to get through them. So you've either got singular model wound dense in Gargants or wound dense in Hordes, and I'm not a particular fan of where the top sort of meta of Age of Sigmar currently is. I don't think it makes for a very interesting game at that level. Yeah, it's like I get this more versatile, but the tournament seems so hard to get into nowadays. Like, um, I will not stop going to tournaments. I enjoy just going for 5 games, but I don't think competitively the game is as open as maybe it seems because of all these results. Um, the honest answer is comp, and it's not a good answer. I hate the idea of comp, but that is what you generally do to maximize that. Is comp in some way, whether it's competition points and you get a lower army score, and which affects how much you have to win. So if you have a lower army score, like so, say you get given 100 points, and all these things you take away points from your 100, and you can never go below 0 on that. And you lose that many points over the course of like battles to the day. So like, in order for you to win, you have to pretty much crush all your games because you're playing with some broken army, and you've lost all these tournament points because you're playing with broken army. However, you would always lose if there's 2 players on 5-0, say at the end of the tournament. If one player went with like, say, an army that only had like 10 points of comp, and the other player had like 100 points of comp spent, the 10 point would win based on his army is considered worse. It's an interesting system. It used to happen a lot in fantasy like that, and I've seen it happen in 40k like that as well. It is not a popular system, and it is very easy to, and it is very suggestive. It's always interesting looking back at how we used to do things, though, and why we don't, and why we stopped, and why we started doing it in the first place. reflection on why things are, and not just going, "Oh, I don't like it," is very important. Yeah, Underground Library. Yeah, a lot of 40k had it. So let's say, for instance, like Age of Sigmar at the moment, what would we do? Yeah, it's insanely complex. It makes tournaments really hard to get into. I'm not a fan of it for that simple reason. My big thing is keep things simple. I hate comp. I hate 20-0 scoring for the same reason. 20-0 scoring is so ridiculously complex. Just make wins wins. I'm not in the game to like make money off competitive play or like win tournaments. Yeah, 20-0. I hate 20-0 with a passion. It's just so overly complex. Not a fan. You win, you lose, you draw, you complete battle tactics, you complete grand strategies, you score victory points. That's the end of it. Like maybe if you want to go, yeah, and see, there is a difference, I would say, between house rules and comp. House rules is going to the game and going, I know that's broken. Let's stop that, which is exactly what you said with Facehammer over here, and had some house rules like Go Trick can't use heroic recovery. Fine, that is a house rule, not comp. That is clearly seeing a problem with a model and going, cool. Like I would be like, like house rules. You can think obvious things like when Stormcast first came out. Anyone who was using that without translocation, without line moving after, you knew it was going to change. I would have just, as a TO, like when they hadn't had the FAQ before the GT, I've just said, I literally said, I'm like, you can't move after it. It's clear as day. That's how these rules work. Can't move after it. And like when all that stuff of like the wording of wards, and like I just before we got the redo of the FAQ on wards and stuff like that, I was like, cool. If it's a if it looks like a ward, if it smells like a ward, if it tastes like a ward, and it feels like a ward, it's a ward. Don't try and be janky. If you have to try and jank and get to say it's not a ward, it's a ward. It was literally my response to anyone asking. Right. But yeah. Yeah, and Underground Library to like add to what like you were saying, you can have things like taking a race night. What? Yeah, it was. What was it? It's like taking a race night didn't give you comp in one of the editions of 40k. I remember. Yeah, taking a race night in 7th didn't give you comp, but taking the Spirit Seer that gave him all the buffs did. So you sometimes were punished for taking something less deadly, like say Wraith Blades, or Wraith Lord, and the Spirit Seer that went along with that. So you make them somewhat decent and not amazing like the Wraith Knight became. You're punished for taking that because the Spirit Seer had the comp on him. What that ends up doing is actually ends up shrinking the field rather than expanding it. And Dominic, you could definitely do a narrative tournament. There is a couple of good ones in the US, the Holy tournaments, the Holy series of events, Holy Havoc, Holy Wars. They're all very narrative based. Steve Herner, if I'm getting his name correct, is the one that runs them. And he does like narrative themed tables for the event, with each table having its own special rules. There's like shrines of like Daughters of Cain shrines, and then There's like a floating islands one. It's really cool. So they purposely put in like prizes for non-met. You can take a list to try and win it, but they will be like there's heaps of like spot prizes. There'll be like spot prizes for certain things and all that. It's a really good event. I know just before COVID hit, we were supposed to have a narrative event here in Australia run by the Dwellers, and unfortunately, it got cancelled due to COVID. But what happened was like you submitted your list, and there are a bunch of really competitive players themselves, really well skilled, and like they've been like world's judges and stuff like that, like really well, like knowledgeable players. And you would submit your narrative list with your narrative and all that, and they would either tell you yes or no, it's acceptable for the event. And they did decline some people's armies, going, "This is not like narrative." Um, yeah, Lord of War. It unfortunately got cancelled. I bought like a giant. I bought the Reaper miniatures, like giant 3-headed dragon. I was going to have it as like my massive monster we got to take in the army, and it was going to be like my the mother of all hydras and Charybdis. I was going to have a god beast. And so my army was like full of like beast handlers and privateers and all that hunting for this giant god beast. Oh yeah, and all the Dwellers events are named after Nicolas Cage films. I believe there was like the one they were trying to get up before like COVID sort of hit. The second wave was going to be the Ghost Rider GT. Yeah, I have had the thought of running a Path to Glory event, like, and where the idea is to play the games over a course of a weekend. Be interesting because like people have to bring a certain amount of models for it, and you have to sort of limit it. We did something like in the early days of Age of Sigmar where points weren't a thing. We did tournaments, right, where we were allowed to. We bought a, like, say for instance, it would be the small GW carry case, like the box, their GW case, and you were allowed to fill that with models. No, like, and stack that full of models, and it had to close neatly, and it would be inspected by the owner of the store. And that was like how we were like getting our models. A lot harder nowadays with so many models being much more breakable than they were back in the early days of Age of Sigmar. Yeah, Past Glory in second edition was weird. It wasn't like a fully thought out system in any way. It was a continuation of a little campaign thing they brought out originally. So Path of Glory actually came out in first edition, and it was the same system. Originally, Path of Glory came out in 40k first of all, actually, and then Age of Sigmar. What it was a way for your Chaos Lord in either game to achieve Daemonhood was like the end result. And so you would actually originally you would only play with Chaos Warbands only. Sylvaneth's in an alright place. I think Tree Lord's got really good with all the monster abilities. The fact they're all on a 3-up save base is really nice. They've got some good movement. They've got good hammers. They've got, Alariel's pretty decent now as well. Warsong Revenant is really solid as well. Sylvaneth are okay. Definitely not in like top tier or anything like that, but Sylvaneth are good. A lot better than people think. If you can find a group to do Path to Glory with, it's fantastic. Like you're not missing out on anything. Like match play is fantastic. Its own right, but I love Path to Glory. I think playing through that, it really gives you some narrative, helps build your story. Like narrative play is certainly a different ball game to match play. It is. Yeah, Warsong Revenant is solid. Yeah, like narrative can be very important on the group you play with. big thing we like to do when we play narrative is we like to add features to our characters. So we like to go impetuous or something like that, or rash, overconfident, or like a defining feature about each character. We generally make tables for them. Roll this, and this determines what you have to do. Like it'll give you like something like your character is overconfident. He will try to fight one-on-one with everyone he can. That's not bad. Cindercloud's pretty sweet to spell. It is hard. Like every time I start thinking a list, I'm like, "Ooh, Anvilgard," but I'm generally playing like more cities now. I think the ones I always go to is Anvilgard, Misthaven, obviously Living City, and Hallowheart seem to be the ones I always get drawn to. Oh, Hammerhall is amazing with the Celston Prime. He just works so well in that city. But yeah, no, I've run the Celston Hammer Hall before. He is really good with that double pylon attack. Keep him off till turn 3. He comes in, and 2 turns he will earn his money. Yeah, a lot of them are like clear air paints. It's just what contrast is, really. Contrast is just glazes. That's all I use them for the vast majority of the time. Slaves are a fantastic army for a beginner to play with. They've got everything. They're pretty simple. They've got very good directions in how to play them. Their sub factions are really good at like pointing you to doing certain things, which is nice. Anyway, here my little man waking up. So that's going to have to be it for this afternoon. I want to say massive thank you to everyone for coming and hanging out and chatting with us while we do some hobby. We'll probably be back later tonight. So in like another 10 hours or something like that for tonight, maybe 12. And we'll catch you all then for some hobby and chatter. Thank you everyone for coming and watching. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Join YouTube members if you'd like to help support the channel in another way and get some cool little emojis in your chat. But thank you all for watching. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. And most of all, keep fighting.